What's up, Raider Nation? Primetime game, division rival, Denver Broncos versus the Oakland Raiders. Sunday Night Football. The whole world saw it. The whole football world saw us beat the Denver Broncos 30-20. Woo! Now, I'm excited. We're sole leaders in the AFC West right now, 7-2. And honestly, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with this victory. Now, I know there's some things that got to be cleaned up, but I'm happy, first off, that, one, we didn't have 23 penalties for 200 yards. I mean, we had some costly penalties, false starts, and illegal man downfield, but thankfully the latter penalty that I just mentioned didn't come back to haunt us. But man, oh man, the offensive line for the Raiders gets a lot of credit for pass protection, but they don't get a lot of notoriety for run blocking. And today, Latavius Murray, he hadn't been getting a lot of carries throughout the first nine games, but this game for Latavius Murray, he ran with power. He saw the holes correctly. He even made a couple people miss, which I thought was one of his big things he needed to work on, was his elusiveness. But he was a force in this game. And honestly, I didn't think we'd have this much success of running the ball against the Denver Broncos. But they saw something on the film. Kudos to Bill Musgraves for saying, hey, we can outbet money on our offensive line versus their defensive line and their linebackers. So kudos to them. Derek Carr, he had an efficient game. Obviously, he wasn't going to throw for 500 yards against a top-rated pass defense, but he had a good game. He got away with a turnover or a bad mistake that T.J. Ward almost made him pay for. But overall, he was good. Amari Cooper, Bradley Roby had an off day. He had a good day against the Chargers, but Amari Ferrari, he does what he does. So he had a good game. Jalen Richard had a good game. DeAndre Washington had a good game. And at first I was like, maybe we should give more carries in the earlier part of the season, that is. I thought maybe we should give more carries to DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard. But seeing Latavius Murray get more than a handful of carries, he is clearly the best running back on the Raiders. It's nice to have pieces like DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard as a change of pace guys and who can get you a quick burst yardage, but the bell cow's got to be Latavius Murray. On the defensive side for the Raiders, it's a step forward. They kept Trevor Siemian off balance. The offensive line, which I thought for the Denver Broncos would be a suspect. Khalil Mack had 2 sacks, I believe a fumble, a forced fumble. Bruce Irvin got pressure, and Darius Latham, I thought he was one of the unsung heroes of the game because he had pressure up the middle. He was stout against the run. He had several tackles at the line or behind the line. So I thought he was one of the top 3 players on defense. That Darius Latham, that is. But overall, the defense was really good. Obviously, the 69-yard screen pass to Bibbs in the fourth quarter, you obviously don't want that when we just scored a touchdown. But for the most part, they kept the Denver Broncos in check. Trevor Siemian didn't have a good day. I thought our DBs did as best a job you can do against Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Obviously, that Norwood touchdown, that was just a great play design in my personal opinion. Carl Joseph was trying to do the run support, but he got caught late and got beat by Norwood. Things like that are going to happen, but the thing is, how do you bounce back? And in years past, when Raiders had a good defensive series, and all of a sudden they get scored on, all of a sudden the floodgates is open, and all of a sudden things just fall apart. That didn't happen in this game, and that's one of the real things I'm impressed about with this team. Yeah, bad things happened. We got scored on, but they came back and still made plays and kept fighting. Excuse me. And Reggie Nelson, he's had a lot of if you just gotten there. But thankfully, at the end of the game, he got a game-sealing interception, so he's coming along. Carl Joseph, who I mentioned earlier, he's coming along. The linebackers, I think they're starting to gel, especially with Perry Riley in the inside position. And the defensive line is coming together. And if we can get Mario Edwards and Alden Smith, if he's reinstated, this can be a dangerous team on defense, especially if they start to gel and get better. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, the Denver Broncos offense isn't that good. I mean, so your defense didn't really improve that much. But for me, it's more about the mentality for a defense. When you give up penalties, when you get up huge chunks of yardage, how do you respond to that? Because the good defenses say, hey, we had miscommunication, we just got beat, we'll get them next play, and we'll make plays. And that's what the Raiders did. So that's what I'm looking more for. That's what I'm looking more in terms of my analysis, is that they bounced back and made plays, and the game was on them to end so they can get out and go home. So kudos to the Raiders that I'm seeing improvements. So hopefully in the upcoming weeks, defense can be go from the 31st to hopefully in the middle of the pack, because the offense is going to do what it's going to do, but we need the defense to go far in the playoff picture. And yes, I said playoffs because we're 7-2, baby. Now for the Denver Broncos side, injuries, and you saw how bad Aqib Talib was missed. Bradley Roby he got abused. Chris Harris had a couple of PIs. That secondary is not the same without those guys, and especially Webster was out too. And I know some people are going to say, hey, next man up. Hey, that's what you do. On the flip side of that, though, I get that I agree with that too. But on the flip side, there's always there's more often than not, there's always a reason why there's one guy at the top of the depth chart and another guy at the second part and another guy at the third part. There's a reason usually why they're tiered that way. So hopefully for the Denver Broncos, though, Aqib Talib can come back and Webster can come back. Brandon Marshall was hampered with a hamstring injury. So a lot of injuries on the defensive side, but for the Broncos, you're in a good place because you're 6-3 now, but you're still in a good place. The real problem is not the defense; those guys are gonna come back. The real problem is you have no running game. I know Devontae Booker, he has talent, but he's getting shut down, and I don't know if that's a function of him not seeing the holes, or him not running with power, or the offensive line just not being able to generate those kind of holes. But without a running game, I don't know if you want Trevor Siemian throwing the rock left and right. That dispels a recipe for disaster. So you want to have a good running game, because in a Gary Kubiak offense, the running game is one of the most important things. So, excuse me, from that standpoint, that's really your biggest issue. And I don't know if you're going to look in the free agency, or not free agency, or the waiver wire, or wherever, but you got to find somebody who can get the rock, who can pound the rock. As far as Trevor Siemian, I mean, I think he is what he is. I think he needs to be supplanted or supplemented with a run game. He can make those occasional deep ball plays, but I don't know if like I said earlier, he's not a guy who you want throwing the ball 30 to 35 times. That's just not the recipe. I don't think that's who he is right now. What else? Oh, yes. Kickers. I'm Sebastian Janikowski. For some reason, I don't feel confident in his kicking abilities when it's over 48 yards. Usually he has the most 50-yard plus kicks in the NFL history, and somehow this year he's not hitting those 48 yarders, those 50s, those 52 yarders, which he made in previous years. So I'm kind of wondering, something wrong? Is it something with maybe Marquette King, who was the holder? I don't know what it is, but something's got to change, because some days we're gonna need those long field goals, and he hasn't done that. He hasn't come through yet for us in the clutch moments. Also, got to give credit to Marquette King. Is there anybody in the NFL who has more style than that man? I love the way he punts. He's a good punter. He's had a great season so far. And the way he dances, man, I love it. People may hate it, but I love it. And I was one of the people who didn't want us to let Shane Leckler go, but the coaching staff saw something, and they said, "Hey, Marquette King, You're the next one. You're the next one. And I'm glad they did because he's something special. So we got weapons in the kicking game. We just need Janikowski to, I don't know what he needs to do, but he needs to fix some things up, tweak some mechanics or something. Because if we can get that going and a defense, this can be a real dangerous team and it come playoff time. That's all I'm saying. Playoff time. So anyway, that's my analysis. Game just ended. I'm hyped. 7-2. Top of the AFC West. Our division now. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think the defense is gelling, or you think the defense just went against a terrible offense and hit a lot of things on the Raiders' defensive side? And tell me, for all you Bronco fans, what do you think? Do you think you lost this game flat out, or do you think the injuries played a role in the Raiders winning this game? Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Letter to Sports Show. 7-2, number 1. Go Raiders. Super Bowl.